Good evening, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter of Spartan Nation Radio welcoming you back. We now go out to the one and only, the legendary, the great coach Chuck Grenier, legendary State of Michigan high school basketball and football coach. Now he's retired, and let me tell you, the sturgeon fear him on the lakes and rivers. The deer run from him, and the bear beg him and bring him honey, saying, please don't enter the woods during spring bear hunting season. The great coach Chuck Grenier. Coach, how are you?
I'm great today. How are you, Hondo?
Good. No matter how you try to parse it, you can't get away from it. COVID-19. Last week, when we were talking, it was looking ahead to tournaments and looking ahead to all of it. Talking recruiting. Now Mel Tucker and his guys can't leave the offices, and they're not allowed to bring people in to see them. The basketball tournaments are shut down. Your thoughts as a sports junkie for all of your life on COVID-19's impact on the sports world?
Yeah, really abrupt, wasn't it? Just kind of like it ended. It's kind of like an unsatisfactory type ending. I understand the situation, the sickness that is a possibility, the sickness that is going around, but it was such an abrupt ending, and the loss of the possible spring game, spring practice for the Spartan football team is really a disappointment. Hopefully maybe something can be resolved in a few weeks or something. I don't know. Maybe something can work out, but it's definitely needed with the new regime that's in there. And it was rather abrupt to see that the basketball team coming into their prime, going into March Madness, and that ended too. So it's quite a fantastic thing that has happened here in the last few weeks.
Coach, I want to dig in a little bit with you because in my lifetime I've not seen anything like it, but I had a guy tell me yesterday, he goes, during World War II, this is what it was a lot like. And he said, obviously there wasn't the television coverage and all of that. I know you're not old enough to remember World War II. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, in our lifetimes, Coach, I don't think we've seen anything like it.
No, there's been some rather dramatic things that have happened over the course of my lifetime. The Kennedy assassination, 9/11, that kind of stuff. And things were at a pause for a few days, but this is going to take some time. It's going to be a while before this thing settles down, levels out. So, this is the first time that I can remember anything like this happening.
All right, Coach, I want to ask you this one. I wrote an article yesterday that got me a little bit of criticism, not a lot, a lot. But when I said that the coronavirus concerns and precautions have put Michigan State behind the eight ball because they are a rebuilding program, I never said that they were wrong for doing them, and I never said they were doing them to hurt Michigan State. In fact, I put that in the article. But the point is, when you're a rebuilding program, it does hurt. I mean, Jim Harbaugh already has relationships with a lot of these kids going back to 8th grade. So does Paul Chryst at Wisconsin, James Franklin, even Day, who's only been in there a year. He still has that because of the program. It does hurt Michigan State. Not saying that they did it on purpose or that anyone went out to hurt Michigan State, but it is a fact, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's a big fact because look, when we talk about bowl games coming up into the Christmas season and getting the bowl games, or how important it is for those 15 extra practice days for the younger people. Now, this just compounds it, I think, with the bringing in of the new coaches. They're trying to get used to the players. And, one of the big factors that football coaches want to achieve with their football team is the ability to play fast. And by that, they mean that they don't think about their positions or their responsibilities at that time. They just react to what's in front of them, and their football knowledge of how their offense or defense work just goes into play without thinking about it. Now, not having a spring practice, not having spring games, not being able to get used to the new staff, the new ways, the new nomenclature of how to call plays, how to speak football, that's just going to slow the process down and make it a real difficult transition for Coach Tucker and his group.
Coach, for you now, when you look at this, you have been an expert leader. Obviously, nobody's been through this, so I'm not trying to say that you have. What do you do in a situation like this? mean, you can't. They don't want gatherings of 50. Well, your football team's 100 and some guys. Talk about that.
Well, there's a lot of minor things I think you can do with this one. I know there's going to be film. There's going to be film room. There's going to be classroom where groups get together with your position coaches. I think what you do at that point is try to bring in some social aspects, maybe dinners, pizza or something like that. Just a way of getting to know each other, talking, back and forth, finding out what each person's about. I know the coaches are going to be going over and over game films, practice films, things like that, and to evaluate players. That's what they have at this point. And there's a couple coaches that are on staff that are still there, so they'll be able to get some idea from those players. And you got to do what you can do. That's it. And you make your best effort to endear yourself to the new players. The players do the same thing to the coaches. There's weight room. They're still practicing the running, the agilities, things along that line. You just do what you can do. That's all that you can do.
So, Coach, let's talk about, I guess if you're looking for silver linings here, I think it gives Mel Tucker a chance to really evaluate and watch a lot of film on his guys. Is that a silver lining? Give me some silver linings here.
Well, that's exactly right. You've got this time. It would be nice to be on the field and to see it firsthand, to work with them firsthand, and especially to see if they've taken the step forward over the course of the year. Excuse me. But that is a silver lining. And maybe, like you're saying, another silver lining is, you only have so much time, so many minutes in the day, so many hours in the day. With the way that things are right now, you can put a lot more time into the film room and evaluation. But, of course, evaluation on film is not going to be nearly as good as to see what the product is at this time of the year. But that is a silver lining. There's a lot more classroom that you can do than you did before in your groups, along with your position coaches. So if there is a silver lining, and it's not real silvery, but if there is a silver lining, this is something that can be done at this time. Again, you do what you can do. So everybody's pretty much in the same boat, except for the idea that these are all new to the coaching staff for the most part, and the players are new to the coaching staff. So that is a little bit behind the eight ball for Michigan State.
Coach, I was, I don't even know how many NCAA tournament days in a row I was working, and yesterday I found myself putt golfing. I mean, it seems surreal, doesn't it?
It is. It's really surreal. I've been to some of the stores, and to see the manic or the panic that is there about the unknown, or the empty shelves and things along that line. We were actually on vacation in the South when all this really started to break down, and we cut our vacation short by half. We come back a week or so earlier than we had planned to. Of course, we both did catch cold, not the virus, but cold on this trip. So to see what's going on over different parts of the United States and to see what's going on in the news, this is an eye opener, to be sure.
Coach, last question for me, and we'll get you out of here. But this is uncharted territories. This is new territory. This is a place that they've never been. And what was it like for you when you realized how abruptly basketball season was done? I mean, Michigan and Rutgers out on the court warming up canceled, and then when you heard the tournament was done, what's your emotions? What was your feeling?
Well, and again, I want to say this in the correct way. I understand with the outbreak and everything going on that there needed to be something done immediately, but to do it with such long-range forecast, completely shut it out, that was a stunner for me. I thought, wow, maybe they'll take a couple of weeks off and let everything calm down, make sure to get everything up to speed medically. get everything ready to roll and that, but to completely shut it down, it got a little bit scary. You're thinking about all of the preparation, the money, the time, and the effort that was put into something like this, and then bang, just it's done. And I thought, wow. And then the basketball players, the seniors, this is their last go around, and it just ends. It's really like an unsatisfactory feeling for them. I'm sure it was for me. So it was a shocker.
Coach, last question from me. Usually your wife, Becky, knows to leave you alone till after the Final Four. So does this just mean your honey-do list gets longer quicker?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it means. I'm sure that if basketball is not going to be played, then there's screens that have to be washed. So there's the silver lining, if you want, that we get to clean windows more. So there we go.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Just not a lot to talk about, but man, a great insight on the COVID-19 impacts on Michigan State sports. That's a great coach, Chuck Grenier. You're listening to the Spartan Nation Radio Network.